Welcome back into the GSMC Sports Podcast. So we just previewed the upcoming season for the Baltimore Ravens, had them around 11 wins on the year. I'm expecting big things from them once again, and I'm expecting big things from Lamar Jackson, who notably I did leave out of my top 3 quarterbacks for next year on the rankings that we did yesterday. I have Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow as the top 3 quarterbacks, but I do feel like Lamar is also kind of in that first tier with them. Well, the way that exactly I laid it out is that I think Mahomes is in a tier by himself, and then it would be Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, but Lamar Jackson is probably in that conversation as well, and I feel like he doesn't really get the credit that somebody of his stature typically would get. Being a 2-time MVP in his first 6 seasons, he is going to be one of the more transformative and influential players, I really do think, in the NFL. He's not the first quarterback to ever be a dual threat, but, since Michael Vick, there really hasn't been, I would maybe throw Colin Kaepernick into that same type of discussion in the early 2010s, but in terms of having the full package, I think Lamar is really one of the players who highlighted how much of an asset it can be if your quarterback runs around in this, modern era. And again, don't want to give Lamar sole credit for it, but I'm just saying I think we're going to look at him as one of the benchmarks in NFL history where things started to shift towards having dual threat guys. And unfortunately for Lamar, he's a little bit of a victim of the reality with a lot of how we go about our sports discourse, where you win a couple MVPs, so you have this spotlight on you, so there is extra pressure when the playoffs come around, and he hasn't had a signature playoff moment really yet up to this point, and at least nothing that really comes to mind off the top of my head. If you feel like I'm missing anything, definitely be sure to let me know. But the first time I really remember him being in the playoffs was that loss against the Chargers, where they just kind of threw extra defensive backs at him and exposed his passing game a little bit. Since then, he doesn't have he's top 200 passing yards twice in his career. Once for 365 in that loss against the Titans in 2019, and then the other time was against the Chiefs this past year. So, no, I would say pretty confidently he doesn't have a signature playoff moment. But, that being said, I think back to this Chargers game that he played in that as his first introduction to the playoffs. At that point, he would have been something along the lines of 21, 22 years old, and he has gotten better each and every season, I feel like. Now, dealing with the injuries in 2021 and 22 really did disrupt the overall appeal of him, because he almost sort of fell out of favor and we were forgetting about him to some degree because he was injured for the second half of both of those seasons. So we didn't even get an opportunity to see him play in these playoff games. Instead, the reputation was that he has not been available in the biggest moments for the Ravens. And I fully stand by him, taking care of his health first in 2022, understanding that if he did seriously get injured, he was in a contract year. He already has so many people that doubt him that it could have very significantly impacted the contract that he was going to sign. So he got paid and he deserves it. But now is when we start to get into the late 20s, early 30s, where we're supposed to see these quarterbacks jump to another level. And I don't know. At the same time, what is the next level for Lamar Jackson? It's kind of a tough thing to argue, considering the fact that, again, he's won 2 MVPs. And I've talked about before the fact that last year's MVP season didn't seem like he had all that much competition. There really wasn't a glaring MVP candidate. So almost by circumstance a little bit, he ended up coming away with it. But, I feel like I feel like I'm rambling a little bit here, but ultimately what I'm trying to get at is that Lamar is still so young and he has improved year after year, but there's a significant amount of doubters. And you can point to the playoff numbers, and without a doubt, there is a significant increase, or decrease, I should say, from the regular season averages. And that's a concern to some degree, but I just feel like it's coming at some point. The Ravens have tried to surround Lamar as well with talent, but have been, I would say, to some degree, unsuccessful up to the most part. Now, they've had a good offensive line, and now we saw this past year that they're sort of starting to put more pieces around him, but that also comes at a cost, and they lost 3 starters from last year's offensive line. So, again, grass is always greener. You're never going to be in the exact perfect situation to succeed. But now with Lamar, I feel like we're going to start to see him really hit his stride in the passing game. We saw the relationship that he was able to develop with Zay Flowers. If Zay doesn't fumble at the goal line in that Chiefs game, I mean, who knows how things could have progressed differently. Zay is going to, I know he's had some trouble, legally wise in this offseason. So assuming that he's able to play, he's going to continue to get better as well. Mark Andrews is hopefully going to be healthy for the Ravens this season as well. And I'm definitely buying into what the Ravens are putting out there, and I just believe in Lamar Jackson. And again, I mentioned this earlier, I was not his number one fan by any means coming into the league, and even today, I'm still not, I can't definitively say that I'm his number one fan. I'm contemplating whether or not he is on the tier with Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, but, the only thing that's really holding him back from everybody universally accepting his greatness is having a signature playoff game. And that's way easier said than done because Lamar has gone out and played, incredible football for when he's been in. I mean, you look at their win-loss record from when he's been playing. It even goes back to these past couple years where he wasn't able to be available for them. It was Tyler Huntley was a nice fill-in for them at some point, but I also feel like to some degree, this is going to be where Lamar, I'm ready to put the injury concerns past him, and I think that he's really ready to dive into truly elite, potentially all-time territory. I know that's insane, and I'm talking about all-time as he is still just 27 years old. But again, at the pace that he's been improving, I fully think that it's possible. I had plenty of doubts before the fact that the Ravens were, 0 for double digits when entering the fourth quarter, trailing with Lamar for the first however many years. But now that's no longer the case. I think that Lamar can throw his way back into a game, and the fact that he still has the elite rush game to, hold as a backbone, I'm fully bought into the long-term upside. Just want to say hello to him in the comment section. Happy Friday. Hope you are doing well. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's almost like I might be screaming at nobody here, talking about respect Lamar Jackson, and everybody already does. But it's just something that I feel like wins and losses get so held against quarterbacks, and obviously having success is extremely important. But, I think that Lamar's time is coming, and that eventually he is going to break through. Now, I could end up looking stupid if, especially I think the most likely scenario would be if injuries do become a part of his career again. But I think that as he starts to improve the passing game as well, he won't have to lean on the rushing as much. He's learned to not take the big hits quite as much, which, as much as I praise Josh Allen for, I believe in him being sturdy and him being available for years to come. I mean, sometimes that guy just sets himself up to get lit up. And it's something that I'm not a Bills fan, but I'm like, just slide, run out of bounds, do anything other than take that massive hit. And I think that Lamar has progressed to that point. He's had enough injuries that have gotten in his way that he understands that. It's something that I do also kind of hope for for Josh Allen as well, I should say. But let me know where you're at on Lamar Jackson. Is he a top 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterback in the league? And, what else does he have to do to really win everybody over and convince them that he is a true, Hall of Fame caliber quarterback that is going to, be enriched in NFL history? Him does say Bengals are going back to the Super Bowl this year. Like I was just talking about, I mean, Joe Burrow is somebody that I just feel like when I put him on that top tier, it's because I feel like if he's playing football games fully healthy, the Bengals are always going to have a chance to be very competitive. And I mean, I'm totally with you that the Bengals have a great chance to go back to the Super Bowl. Everybody in the AFC is going to be looking to the Chiefs to overcome them. I mean, the AFC at the top especially is just so stacked. And it's in large part because of the quarterback play. So as much as I love me some Joe Burrow, there's a lot of other elements that go into it. I sneakily really like some of the moves that the Bengals made on the defense as well, going out getting Geno Stone. They returned the safety that played for them a couple years ago when they made the Super Bowl and then lost. I got to double check this right now because it's going to drive me crazy that I'm blanking on the name right now. But they also returned Von Bell, is who I was looking for, was once the captain of their team. So I think Bengals also have a great chance. But the Ravens are also in that same conversation as well. We'll see. Might be a slow start for the Ravens, but I expect that they're going to be playing their best football by the end of the season. But we are now going to be taking our next break here. When we come back on the other side, tomorrow kicks off the second half of the MLB season, so I'm going to be looking into some of the biggest storylines for the fans out there to pay attention to. We will dive into that, but first, a quick break. We'll be right back.